There is a routine happening on social media when it comes to the college basketball coaching carousel that is as time-honored as rage bait, people blocking you when you have an opinion they don't agree with, and childish name-calling that might have been stinging and hurtful when we were 5, 6, and 7 years old. That happening is these fan bases having pie-in-the-sky aspirations that two coaches, Brad Stevens and Jay Wright, are going to come back to the college coaching ranks and take over their jobs, no matter how unrealistic and implausible it may be. They insist that their job is the one. Now, let me remind you, Brad Stevens left Butler 13 years ago to take over as head coach of the Boston Celtics. He has been out of coaching altogether for, I believe, 5 years now, where he's been the GM. Jay Wright retired from Villanova 4 years ago. Okay? May I remind you that if Wright really wanted to get back into the coaching ranks, he would go back to Villanova, which he has infinite love for. They had an opening 12 months ago when they fired Kyle Neptune. Do you honestly think that Kevin Willard would be the coach if Wright really wanted to come back? Think about this for a minute. All he had to do was say, hey, I want to come back. They'd give him the job in a heartbeat. And as for Brad Stevens, you don't think Indiana hasn't called him every single vacancy they've had in the last 13 years? Do you really think they hired Mike Woodson and Darian DeVries just because? Do you honestly think they hired Archie Miller just because? You don't think they've called Brad Stevens hundreds of times? You don't think Kentucky's called? Use some common sense, please. But people insist, though, this is happening. People from Syracuse's cycle have insisted he's taking a job. People from Providence have insisted. Butler insisted there's going to be a reunion. People from Arizona State, who I love dearly, insisted that these guys are taking a job. Now it's already starting with North Carolina. Right? LSU fans are saying it's happening, even though Matt McMahon hasn't even been technically fired yet. Cincinnati fans were calling it was going to happen. I mean, this is commonplace. I already got into one UNC fan who said that Michael Jordan has enough money to convince Brad Stevens to leave the Celtics to come to Chapel. Yes, because I forgot the Boston Celtics are some poor, impoverished ABA franchise. They're some local, just schlub team that's funded by a couple of ham and eggers that live in their mom's basement. I forgot they're broke. But I told him, when I responded to him, I said, dude, don't get your hopes up. It's not happening. It's not. His response to me was, well, it can't hurt to ask FFS. Yeah, you're right. It can't hurt to ask. Sure, it also can't hurt me to direct message Sydney Sweeney and ask if she wants to go on a blind date with me to Buffalo Wild Wings. Right? Not that she's ever going to answer me or anything. And if she does, she's probably going to call me a creep, block me, and call the police. But you're right. It can't hurt to ask. Again, like I said, I forgot. Michael Jordan's got a ton of money. I forgot the Celtics are broke. This is the stupidity that comes out of people's mouths. Here's the latest. This from @GoHeelsNation regarding Brad Stevens. And I quote, Stevens should understand nobody's going to remember his greatest accomplishments as GM of the Celtics. Come to Chapel Hill and win one natty, and you're a legend. Win 3, and you're on UNC's Mount Rushmore. Win 4, and you're on the all-time Mount Rushmore with Wooden, Dean, and Coach K. The temerity of this part. Brad Stevens should understand. I'd like to think Stevens knows a thing or two about basketball, okay? I think he understands the lay of the land, my dude. He doesn't need some guy on social media telling him what to and not to understand. 2, nobody's going to remember his accomplishments of GM of the Celtics. The guy won a NBA championship for his work as GM there. I think they're going to remember it. This is the Boston Celtics, okay? This isn't some Rube franchise. This is the model franchise in the NBA. This is the most historic franchise in the league. Them and the Lakers are the 1 and 1A. So I think people are going to kind of remember Just a little bit. Just a tad. Okay. This guy was responsible for them drafting Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown. Right? He was the one that orchestrated that trade with the 76ers to get Tatum. I think they'll kind of remember it just a little bit. Just a tad. So yeah, they're going to remember his deal there. And two, talking about Mount Rushmore, lest I remind you, since you love Brad Stevens so much, maybe you forgot what he did at Butler in his tenure there. Not only did he elevate the stock of that school forever to where they're now in the Big East, right? And they're still trying to reach the heights that he got them to. Butler has not come anywhere close to the Elite Eight since he left, right? Let alone made the national title game twice when they were in the fucking Horizon League. Okay. But not only did they make the national title game twice as a mid-major, you will never again see a mid-major come as close as Butler did to winning a natty like they did in 2010. We've seen teams make it. Butler made it again the next year and unfortunately got taken behind the woodshed by UConn. We saw Gonzaga make it in 2021 and that went bad. We saw San Diego State make it a couple years ago, and that went bad. But you remember that 2010 game against Duke? How close it was? How close that buzzer beater was to hitting that, the Gordon Hayward shot? Yeah, we will never again see a mid-major come that close to winning a national title. I mean, I guess you could say a mid-major did win one if you consider that UNLV team with Jerry Tarkanian in a mid-major. I mean, they were in the Big West, but that team played like a damn NBA squad. So, but again, that Butler team in 2010 is as close as you will ever see to a mid-major winning a title, especially with NIL. It's taking that away. So let's save the Mount Rushmore talk. I think Brad Stevens has etched his legacy as one of the greatest coaches in college basketball history, just based off what he did at Butler in his time there. So you can come down to Chapel Hill and what? Get boat raced out of town if he makes a Sweet 16 and happens to lose. Live in the legacy and the shadow of Dean and Roy. He's fine, okay? We all saw how well you treated Bill Guthridge. We all saw how well you treated Hubert at the end. So, miss the bullshit, okay? Brad Stevens is not coming to Chapel Hill. You can gaslight all you want. You can white picket fence all you want. He's not coming there. Neither is Jay Wright. I had somebody else argue with me about that. Well, that's great what he did at Villanova. What did he do at UNC? I don't know. He beat UNC in a national title game. You remember that? I'm sure you do. And I have no animus towards North Carolina. Don't take this the wrong way. I have a great affinity for UNC. It's these delusional fans that are in every single fan base. Villanova has them. Kansas has them. North Carolina has them. Duke has them. Taper your expectations. You're going to get a great coach. You are. I have no doubt in my mind, especially if they move outside of the family. I think Nate Oates will take that job. I really do. Yes, some people say he has baggage because of this crap that happens off the court. You know what happened this year with Holloway? What happened before with Brandon Miller? Okay? Nate Oates is their head coach. He ain't their babysitter. If TJ will take that job, which I'm 50-50 on, I don't know if he does or not. You know, he's from Minnesota. He's coaching at Iowa State. That's more up his neck of the woods. And I know him and the AD have a borderline bromance going on. I'm not as sure as he does, but if you can get him, that's a grand slam, man. That is a grand slam. I think Grant McCasland would take that job. I think he's done tremendous at Texas Tech. I think Mark Byington takes that job, and I think that guy's a hell of a coach. What he's done at Vanderbilt is unbelievable. He won big at James Madison. He was doing good things at Georgia Southern. All right, maybe he's not sexy, but that guy can win. Look, if you have any chance of Todd Golden, maybe he's a smug asshole, but that smug asshole knows what's up. And Nerdball would be amazing at North Carolina. There's coaches you can get. Billy Donovan, I mean, it's been 20 years since he won a natty. It's been a lifetime ago in college basketball terms since he was there, but I think Billy could do good things at UNC. You're going to get yourselves a hell of a coach. And North Carolina deserves it. It's a great program. It is a storied program. They got great fans. But cut the pie in the sky bullshit. I say this to every fan base about Jay Wright is not coming back. Okay. Brad Stevens sure as hell isn't coming back. Yeah, it doesn't hurt to ask. I understand you'd be not doing due diligence if you didn't. But that doesn't mean it's happening. So let's slow the jets down. Let's not get our expectations too high, because what's going to happen is whoever you wind up getting, you're going to be pissed off at the front. You're going to be pissed off at the athletic department, and you're going to not give the coach a fair chance when you do hire him. Anyway, that'll wrap things up. Thank you for tuning in. And it's my good friend BC Amplified here on YouTube says, until next time, and there will be a next time. We'll see you around.